Realtist Real Talk Podcast.
Hello, fellow Realtists. I am Amber Lewis.
And I'm Rob Pasker.
And we are your Realtist Real Talk Podcast team, and we have a treat for you today. We are in Birmingham, Alabama at the Black Summit, and we have our panel that just got off the stage talking about development in Birmingham. Let's go down the line, right? We have Meghan Venable Thomas, who is the Director of Community Development for the City of Birmingham. We have Caroline Douglas, Executive Director of Birmingham Land Bank Authority. Say that pretty fast, right? JT Moore, Birmingham City Councilor, and Aziz Housseini, CEO of SEIN, SEIN Technology Partners.
Give it up.
Welcome.
We in Birmingham. What's going on?
Yes.
So today we were talking about development, and we're in Birmingham. What's the word on development in Birmingham? What are we building in Birmingham? What's going down?
Oh, we're building single-family homes for families who really want to own. They want to go from renting to owning, and we're here for that. I think we're all here for that.
Absolutely. We got like the Avengers of Birmingham real estate.
Right, that powerful group.
I feel like I would say we're building opportunity. So it's not only bricks and mortar. It's not just infrastructure. We're also doing wraparound service provision. We're also meeting folks where they are to ensure that they are prepared for whatever's next in their housing journey.
Absolutely. Well, you know, the interesting thing about development, we can talk about real estate development, but if we're not developing our people to partake in these opportunities,
right,
we're creating gaps.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
What I think is interesting about this panel specifically is that there's synergy. We know we can't get anything done unless we all come together, and so each one of you have your own special place, I think, right, in how we think about development, especially in Birmingham. Who would like to take the question on, in the past, what we've seen from an infrastructure perspective within Birmingham and where we're going in the future?
I think you got that.
I guess I do. So I think, in the past, in terms of infrastructure, I know that, there's always been, great opportunities here in the city of Birmingham. I think that, we have the right people, the right team to be able to represent those opportunities and show folks how to take advantage of them. I think too, being on the city council, we have a group of city councilors that really want to promote Birmingham and really assist the different departments within the city to ensure that we see those types of developments take place. And so whether that's, us doing our part to make policies or change policies so that, we can be more efficient and make things easier, or, just making sure that we're allocating funds to those ideas that are really good, that we would like to see move forward in our city. We just want to, really work together to promote those things.
Yeah. Let me tag team that. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I think it also comes to sharing knowledge and making sure that our city councilors who want to get involved in this work have the information. They need to know, what are we doing and what do we need and who is our target population. So with land banking, since we've been in existence for about 10 years, it's been really interesting that we still have some people who we serve who are not clear on what we do or who we are. And that's not their fault. That's our responsibility. So being able to communicate what we do and who we are is important, because then our policymakers know how to use us, because we're a tool. We are really a tool with really unique abilities, and we're excited to be a part of that.
Yeah, I feel like we're, especially at the city, a catalyst for how do we spur investment and sustainable and affordable investment. And so when I think about legacy of Birmingham, and when most people think about the city of Birmingham, they immediately think about the civil rights movement, social justice, right? And that's a real legacy here, that folks in our community fought for home ownership and developed it. There were thriving, beautiful communities here. We were just awarded a $50 million grant from HUD for the Choice Neighborhood Initiative. And our tagline is honoring the past and envisioning the future, because we understand that there was a beautiful legacy here, and many of the policies and practices and approaches that we've seen across the country destabilized and deteriorated those legacies. And what our responsibility here is to catalyze moving forward, not just bringing back the opportunities that folks have had before, but also really thinking innovatively about what that means for the 21st, 22nd, 23rd century as we continue to understand the opportunities and the challenges that we're going to be facing and are currently facing.
Absolutely. I mean, something that came up today was that the Fair Housing Act was in 1968. And the national black homeownership rate now is lower than what it was before the passing of that Fair Housing Act. You know, based off of your different experiences, what do you think are some of those impediments to black homeownership that you're seeing in Birmingham?
We have a new program that we're standing up. It's a pilot. It's the Accelerated Home Ownership Program. And two things I can see off the top are credit scores and income. That can sometimes be an impediment. And I'm thinking also just on a basic level where any of us, when we are pursuing either careers or different pathways, knowledge base can also be an impediment, just knowing the how-to. You know what you want, you just don't know how to get there, and who's going to show you how to do that. I think that's where realtists come in. I think that's where we come in on the front end, but I do think that it has a lot to do sometimes with our credit scores, our income, because you want to be able to support that home. We don't want you to lose that home, and providing those educational services is important so we can teach you to then teach others.
And I do want to add to that from the supplier side. There's just not a lot when you factor in the income levels of the average African American family and the credit score, the amount that they would be able to afford. There's not a lot of inventory that fits that income band.
True.
And then even less inventory that you actually want to live in. I mean, you'll find some fixer-uppers all day long, but you have 3 kids, you're already working 2 jobs, you don't have time to fix anything up. So I think, once you get past those things on the other side of the equation, the supply, generally speaking, isn't there.
And I think it's a whole ecosystem. When we look back to the 60s and when we created these policies that were around desegregation, I don't think there was the thought about the unintended consequences of policy, which is why policy is so important. Because when we began to create policies for desegregation, we saw white flight, right? We saw industries deteriorate. And so the things that make an ecosystem is not just about the housing, but also about access to economic opportunity, right? Access to education. And as all of these different things deteriorate around you, so does the housing stock. And so when we look at, what we're seeing today, where people are, and then the supply of affordable, not just affordable, but healthy, accessible, quality housing, there's a big gap there. And so part of what our responsibility is to think about how we fill that gap, but how we also are able to support the capacity of our folks to continue to stabilize what they're currently in, and bring on new opportunities that actually meet the needs of the people where they are.
And I'll also just add, just the belief that you can actually own a home, right? I know that there's a, certain group of folks that have, generationally lived in public housing. And so for them, the thought and the possibility of them owning a home is not something that they can actually fathom. When in reality, you can do it. You just need somebody to, like was stated, provide the information for you and show you the tools that need to be put in place for you to actualize that opportunity for yourself.
That's real.
And then show you the benefits. There's some people who say, I don't really want the responsibility of owning a home. Absolutely. I just want to pay my rent and keep it pushing. And if I need something, I can call and get that help. But we learned today that we are then bypassing the opportunity to earn and accumulate generational wealth. It's a lot more than the day-to-day. But if we can focus you on the long term, then maybe it'll be beneficial and something you want to do.
Absolutely. And I feel like that's the first step too, right, in the home ownership journey. Like I talk a lot about, I just bought my first house, and the first time I had something break down, I would call my mama like, hey, who's gonna fix this thing? And she's like, girl, that's you. And so like the education has to continue so you understand, right, the first time you get your taxes, right, the why do they increase, or what's happening around you. Like there's a sustainability requirement too that we need in our communities to really understand not only what is the opportunity of home ownership, but how do you leverage that opportunity for wealth building, and what are all those other things, and what do they look like?
That's true.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing, bringing it back to kind of some actionable next steps and like 3 main things. So we've talked about wraparound services, right? So we know at the end of the day, to have a healthy home, we have to have a healthy life.
Right.
So a lot of times it's not because individuals just say, I don't want to own a home. They may say, am I of value to even own a home? I've never seen this before in my periphery. I need to actually understand what it looks like. And I think you had a perfect example, right? Something breaks down, we're like, house rich and pocket poor, but that comes back to even when we talk about NID and housing counseling and how do you make sure that you're stood up for success. But even outside of that, we talk about the education, going back to the NID, but also understanding it. But one of the biggest things that I think that we could talk about, and you have, and I'm so interested in having more conversation later, from the development perspective, is the fact of, do we have enough housing stock for what we need for the future? We know that our housing stock today is becoming dilapidated, right? We know that there is an inaffordability perspective to it, but even outside of that, supply is just not there at the end of the day. So can one person take kind of that question of like, in the future, as we're marching towards that North Star and your partnership with the Realtist specifically, how do we bridge that gap and how do we get to the other side?
Can I take a stab at it? I think
okay.
We're all gonna
actually, I see everybody with bated breath waiting. So how about
Yes.
everybody take that
We
as a
all
closing?
do.
Okay.
Yeah. When I moved to Birmingham in 2009, there's 2 things I noticed. Flying into Birmingham, as you land and you look down, depending on the season, green trees for miles. Birmingham was so green, and I loved it because I came from an urban, dense environment. But also, I noticed that Birmingham has beautiful homes. This is a wonderful city, and there are homes that were built in the 30s and the 40s that are still standing and still strong. But that doesn't negate the fact that they are also aging. This housing stock is aging. Our most valuable asset, in my opinion, in Birmingham is our existing housing stock. Homes that can be renovated, homes that can be rehabbed. Now, we know that once you get inside, you don't know what you're working with. And a lot of our buyers face that. So they don't know. There could be structural, there could be other things. But I would say valuing and securing our existing housing stock, preserving them as best as we can, using them as opportunities to either sell immediately or do a lease to purchase program for those who are taking steps into home ownership but just don't know if it's right for them, or maybe they're just not ready yet. I think that we can leverage that housing stock to do those 2 things so that there's not just one path to home ownership, there's at least 2 paths. Yeah.
I would agree with that. I think one of our greatest assets is that in the 80s, when everyone decided to tear down old houses that weren't cool anymore and do these new houses out of these non-traditional fabrication models, we couldn't afford to do that in Birmingham. And that's really a blessing because we have beautiful bones in this city of infrastructure and homes that have been here forever. And one of our biggest programs out of the Department of Community Development is our critical repair program. And so homeowners of that time, of the 50s, 60s, who were able to buy their first home, who were Black homeowners in thriving Black neighborhoods, they're in those same homes that have maybe not had the deferred maintenance that was needed over time and are deteriorating. And so I think there's two things here. One is sustaining current homeowners, right? Like, how do you age in place, and what are the mechanisms and approaches to help people sustain that wealth building tool for something that can be passed down to the next generation? And 2, how do we then have the developers with the capacity to understand and to invest in adaptive reuses of homes that we want to keep the bones of, that we want to preserve and maintain the culture and history of. And so those are 2 components of, I think, investments that we're seeking. And we want to partner with realtors, realtists, and developers who are interested in being able to understand that and connect back in the community to take that forward.
That's right.
Absolutely.
I think from my perspective, one of the things that made me interested in Birmingham was really just the collaboration between the different government agencies and city council. This is already a very difficult, long process. there's a lot of risk, right? There's time, there's money. So when you can find partners that can make certain components easier, yet they hold strong to certain values, where we're doing an affordable home ownership project. So we're going to build new construction homes, and they'll be capped at what we could sell them for. And we said okay, because A, it fits kind of our philosophical, the philosophical alignment, and B, because they work together, they were able to bring us enough volume where economically it made sense for us to do it. So I would say, collaboration within, the government, and genuine interest in that we have standing calls every week and everybody participates. And like if you're not on in like 2.5 minutes, you'll get a text from somebody like, "Yo, you coming on?" Like that stuff really matters, because it tells me that they're serious about what they're doing. They're as serious as I am about what's happening. So that would be my.
Wonderful.
That would be my.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the collaboration piece is a really big part of it. For us on the council, we really want to make sure, again, that we're supporting a lot of the great initiatives and ideas that are going forth. And if there's a way for us to put policies in place to better support that efficiency and that movement, then we do that. But then I also think, for us being able to bring our residents, our citizens into proximity to the information that they need. We kind of serve as the bridge builders and the, the ones to connect the constituents to the information that they need to be able to, again, take advantage of some of these different opportunities that are available to them.
It's wonderful.
That's powerful. I mean, I would say between the Birmingham Realtists, who are very passionate, and having people such as yourselves that work for the city, collaborate with the city, I see Birmingham going places. They're in good hands.
Yeah.
They're in good hands.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Magic
I
City,
wish that
man.
we had people like yourselves in government positions collaborating with the government all across America, because it's not like that everywhere.
It'd be different. It would be different.
Yeah.
And I think that Birmingham can be, a real good example of, how government can really work for the people. A lot of times, folks have distrust of their political figures, elected officials, things of that nature. But I think in Birmingham, we've really, honed in on this collaboration piece and, playing team because we see the value in being able to use this to move forward and do it quickly as possible.
That's it.
Well, we thank you for this conversation
much.
today.
Thank you.
We appreciate you being on the panel during our Black Summit. It was a huge day for us. Look into the camera and let's just have one person say, hey, if you weren't here, Realtist, what is your call to action to make sure that you're at Black Summit next year? Who wants to take that one?
I think the councilman is
Doctor.
Wait, did you say the council?
Look,
Go
if
ahead.
you were not here, you missed out on a treat. All right, you missed out on some great information that went forth. But there's always next year. Please make sure that you take advantage of it. I don't know if y'all are having it here in Birmingham next year.
It will not be in
We would
Birmingham
love for y'all to
next
come
year.
back.
We're on tour, but
Yes,
All right.
Marcus Brown told me about the classic. Like a classic.
Listen, you got to come to the classic.
Yeah.
You got to come to the classic.
Next year, I'm back.
Classic.
Yeah.
Classic.
Right.
We will find a reason to come back.
Absolutely.
Well, we appreciate you
Me
all
too.
truly. Keep doing what you're doing because
Thank
it's
you.
necessary. It's needed.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
You
Thank
make
you.
good look
Thank you.
real good.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's a good,
Appreciate
great
it.
compliment.
Thank you.
All right.
Good stuff.